Could this be the end of the line for one of the country's most cooked politicians?
Please, God, let this be it.
LNP Senator Gerard Rennick has been booted off a winnable position on the LNPs Queensland Senate ticket. How in the heck did this story slip under my radar?
Despite selling himself as the LNP's best chance of winning a third seat in the Senate, Gerard Rennick's political future has been dashed by his own party. How are you feeling?
No, fine.
The Liberal National Party knew exactly what they were getting when they slotted him in at number 3 on their Senate ticket ahead of the 2019 election. Rennick had already created quite a profile for himself well before polling day. I mean, besides funneling around $35,000 into LNP coffers in the year or so ahead of his pre-selection, Rennick had also made a name for himself thanks to his, how do I put this, theories on topics ranging from climate change, childcare, all the way through to Russia.
Oh, wow.
Really? Did he say that?
Yep.
Gerard Rennick is third on the Liberal National Party Senate ticket here in Queensland. There's a very strong chance of being elected to Parliament later this year. But today, his views on a number of issues have come to light, including on early childhood education. Labor last year announced a policy that would extend free or subsidised preschool to 3-year-olds. In response to that, Mr Rennick took to social media, suggesting that that was a Labor conspiracy to increase government control over the raising of children.
What I'm afraid of is that we will lose control of our children.
They say you can learn a lot about a politician by their register of interests. And what I learned is that Rennick is big on digging stuff up out of the ground, including oil and gas, so perhaps it shouldn't be all that surprising that he's not a big believer in man-made climate change. He owns 5 houses as well, so as my parents would say, he's doing alright for himself, isn't he? Senator Rennick is an accountant by trade. That wasn't until 2020 where he emerged as one of the greatest scientific minds the country has ever seen. I kid.
Let's check out the highlights.
Biochemistry. Proteins, ionised molecules, ionised molecule, protons, electrons, antibody, antigen, endothelium, capillary endocytosis, nanoparticle. I just want to focus for a start on the ovaries. Lipid nanoparticles, deltoid muscle lipid nanoparticles, spike protein, benign enzyme luciferase, spike protein, mucosal system, hemoglobin A, hemoglobin G, angiotensin converting enzyme, transmembrane serine protease, membrane the organelles, nucleus, your ribosome and your mitochondria, catatonic, transfection, ribosome, nucleotide uracil, methyl pseudouridine, rats, monkeys, human. End of story.
Science.
While his attacks on the Bureau of Meteorology and climate change scepticism had built him a little audience, it was the pandemic that really saw him cultivate the kind of social media following that would leave your average F-Boy Island contestant feeling rather envious. 2021 in particular saw his Facebook follower count explode as he shared all manner of anti-vax related gear. Throughout most of the pandemic, Rennick, as The Guardian put it, flooded Facebook with vaccine posts he then admitted may not be 100% accurate. Indeed. In his time in Parliament so far, I'd really hate to think about how many hours of scientists' time he's wasted in estimates, asking them all manner of bizarre questions that he'd later have chopped up and posted on his various social media channels as if he had some big gotcha moments. Whatever you may think of him, you have to take your hat off to him. He's a prolific content producer. One of my favourite clips is from earlier this year when Rennick received global attention for all the wrong reasons.
And my last one is basically, do gases trap convection? Because I find it confusing that we use this greenhouse gas term when a greenhouse is a solid glass object. And I was taught in grade 8 science that basically materials come in three forms, liquid, gas and solid objects, and I didn't know that gases could trap convection in the same way that a greenhouse would trap rising air, cool and then condense. I don't see how gases can do that.
Yeah, so I think we've talked about this before, Senator, the phenomena of the atmosphere being kind of like a blanket around the Earth.
I don't like that description. Does gas trap convection or not?
But we know from temperature measurements going back a very long time that the Earth is about 16 degrees warmer because of the residual greenhouse gases, CO2 mostly.
Or gravity.
In the atmosphere.
Or gravity.
So I'm not sure I understand your point there.
Well, gravity, anyway, I know you don't think gravity has a part of it, and we'll take that up another day, but that's fine. I just wanted an answer. Does gas trap convection?
Does
gas trap convection?
Yeah, well, heat's transmitted in three ways: convection, conduction, radiation.
It's the radiation that gets absorbed. So the Earth radiates heat.
Yep, I understand all that, but that's not the only factor.
Certain molecules absorb infrared better than others. So water vapour absorbs really well, CO2 absorbs really well, methane absorbs really well. So when they absorb the energy, they heat up, and so you warm the
Mr.
atmosphere.
Marshall, it's not the question I asked you. Do gases trap convection?
Senator Rennick, you said that it was your last question. Are you happy for Dr. Marshall?
Well, he's continuing. He's going down the path of radiation.
Okay. We're just at the end of your block, so we'll just let Dr. Marshall finish his answer to your question, and then I'll allocate the call.
So do gases trap convection?
Maybe if I can just try and clarify. So, there's conduction, convection and radiation. They're the three modes of heat transfer.
Yeah.
Convection is heat transfer through the movement of a fluid, whether it's a gas or a liquid.
Yeah.
So convection or gas doesn't trap it. Moving gas is convection. And then if you look at the Earth, the boundary layer or the boundary condition you have to put there is the edge of the atmosphere. Yep. There is no movement of gas out across that, so radiation is the only way it can happen.
So how were his reviews? Well, some of my favourites include, Senator, you should be thankful you can't be impeached for ignorance, from Professor Michael Mann, who's a leading climate scientist at the University of Pennsylvania. Doesn't even make sense as a statement, from Dr. Chris Kolos, a climate scientist at NASA. It is staggering that this senator has put this car crash out on his own social media platform. Is it possible to be so stupid you don't know you're stupid? That one's thanks to Hugh Remington. To top it all off, Rennick's video was awarded an infamous community note on Twitter X, with users citing a Climate for Kids article to correct the senator's claims. Given his history, I wasn't really surprised that the LNP had dumped him, particularly after the election results last year. I can't see Rennick helping the LNP vote in many of the seats they lost in 2022, so I kind of just assumed that this was Dutton cleaning house. But nah, as if to demonstrate that Dutton is quite happy splashing around the fringes. Dutton actually endorsed Rennick ahead of the initial pre-selection vote. What's more, it was in writing. So according to Dutton, Senator Rennick has demonstrated he is not afraid to take up the fight in order to defend the values of the LNP. I ask you to support Gerard as part of my team. Nice one, Pete. While Rennick had been dumped, he's reported to have lodged an appeal, and Dutton, in further evidence that he's totally incapable of reading the room, has come out to say that he thinks Rennick has done a great job for the people of Queensland and he'll support him again if there's a rerun of the pre-selection. I mean, really, you're leader of the opposition and this is someone you're throwing your weight behind. It probably tells you everything you need to know about the LNP and where they're heading, really. I guess the point I was trying to make with this video is that if someone with a track record like Senator Rennick is a person that the opposition leader is going to endorse as a defender of the party's values, what does that really say about the party itself and the direction it's headed?
Turds down a toilet.
If the senator does find himself without a seat at the LNP table, he can always run as an independent or join One Nation. Imagine these two duking it out for the final Senate seat. That'd make for the pay-per-view event of the decade. For many, Rennick is the loony uncle that pops up at the family barbecue once in a while to yell at clouds and educate everyone on what he's found while researching the internet. For professional fact checkers, he's been the source of a regular paycheck. For me though, Rennick will always be the guy that demanded to be governed. Harder.
Govern me harder, Daddy.
Okay, Senator Rennick, that's been quite the journey.